Hi guys, welcome to our new channel. It's the Boban Battery. We're just cricket fanatics. We love talking about cricket, so we thought we'll share our views and see what you guys think of it. So, as I said, my name's nickname's Bobo, and my friend's name is
Battery.
yeah, and together we're Bobo and Battery. So, our analysis will keep it to the point. We won't hold back. We'll say how we think it is, and if people want to criticize or not be happy with our views, that's just part of it. So we'll start off by talking about the enthralling day's play today. The second day's play between India and England. It's difficult to kind of comprehend what happened today. It just happened at such a fast pace. One of the shortest tests in history and the shortest since probably 1935. But just to recap, India started the day at 99 for three in response to England's 112. Rohit Sharma began the day with Ajinkya Rahane. India unexpectedly collapsed to 145. England came out to bat, and unfortunately for them, unexpectedly, we would say, they collapsed to, I think it was 81 all out, setting India 49, and they knocked that off without losing a wicket. That's just a quick analysis. In fact, as I said, it was a quite bizarre day's play. So, Badri, what's your initial feelings of this kind of amazing day's play? What are you thinking at the moment?
My head is still baffled, mate. Honestly, the pace that this cricket match was at today, it was like playing Willows, you know what I mean? You know, like how you play Willows just off the net, bouncing just non-stop. It
Yeah,
was, seriously, it was fast-paced. It was like a T20 game, Bobo,
yeah.
in a test match.
It
You
was
know what I mean?
T10, I would say.
I mean, like you said early on, if a neutral woke up this morning and saw Rohit Sharma bat and then come back, he thought at the end, he thought this guy must have got some serious runs. And then hang on a minute, what's he done? Batted all day and hardly got any runs. And it doesn't make sense. What happens in cricket? You're playing French cricket like minuses or something. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just mad. I mean, it was seriously. I mean, like you said, shortest test match since 1935, 2 days. It didn't
Yeah,
even last like the full sessions. That's like pretty much 5 sessions, 5 and a bit sessions. Yeah, the test match finished. It was fast paced.
it
Honestly,
was.
that
Yeah. So let's try to break it down. I know it's not easy when so many things have happened. So India resumed on 99 for three. They pretty much straight away. Jack Leach got the got the wickets coming for and Rahane LBW, and then they pretty much continued in that way. What do you think? Was it poor Indian batting, or did Leach just get it right on a really helpful wicket, and Indians just didn't have a response? So what would you say about the morning session first of all?
you know the morning session. I mean, morning session. I think Leach bowled really well. He bowled in good areas, but I think Root was the spell that changed everything. He got all the left-handers out pretty much. He got
Yeah.
who did he left? He got
He got yeah, he started off by getting the big one, Pant, didn't he? Rishabh
he got
Pant, very early, second ball, I think.
Pant. I thought Pant was going to make a big difference on this wicket. You know, someone like that, fearless, comes on the wicket, plays, doesn't play the pitch. He just plays his shots,
Clear
and
mind, yeah. A
30,
30-40 from him, and yeah, would have
30,
been.
40 of him would have made the big difference. And I thought Root bowled really well, and he brought England back into the match. I mean, I must say, before we start, you called it yesterday quite rightly. You said it'll be over day two, and I honestly thought it'd be day three, that it'll go to day three. So, you know what, hats off to you. You called it correctly. In terms of Root's bowling spell, I thought it was a really good spell. I mean, if Root's taking wickets, um, I mean, he bowled well. So, you know, someone will say if Root's taking wickets, the wicket is really bad, but he had to put the ball in the right area. And to be honest with you, England batsmen were really good. India's batsmen were really good players to spin, but yeah, even they looked lost at times in terms of what to do, how to play it. Do they attack? Do they sit back? You know, it was almost intriguing watching them because they're normally classed as the best players to spin. You know, you're playing in their back garden, and England are really, Root's a part timer and he's bamboozling
But
them.
do you think this has become a bit of a myth now? And I heard this quite a lot that Indian players are brilliant players off spin, but recently they've collapsed a lot. It's happened even at home, and the bowlers have bailed them out. But if you look at this series in the first test when the conditions were flat, they gave wickets away to Don Best with some poor deliveries, got wickets, and even today, obviously, Jack Leach got 4 wickets and 4 of them were balls that went straight on. Do you think it's just a case of it's actually the Indian spinners that are better than the opposition spinners,
No, I
rather than a
think
case of Indian batsmen being better players of spin than the opposition? batsmen?
I think both of them. I think Indian players are better players of spin, and I think the Indian spinners are better than in England spinners. I mean, if you look at just sort of, I think the wicket has a big part to play, Bobo. It was turning from ball one pretty much on day one, yeah, and you know, I think this is the first Test match that's been played here. You didn't know how the batting, how the pitch was gonna play. Personally, I feel England could have batted. I think, you know, out of what was it was 30 wickets fell, 28 fell to spinners, Bobo.
Yeah.
And 2 went, and that was 19 to Indian spinners and 9 to England spinners. One, Jofra got one, and Ishant Sharma got one as well. Yeah. So it was spinning from day one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Battery. Yeah, the ball is spinning, but there's got to be a certain limit where we're like, okay, the ball is spinning. It's a really, really tough pitch to bat on. But then we obviously, as we watched a lot of cricket and we've seen the pitches like this before, there's got to be a target in your mind. We're going to say, okay, so what's a par score? Now, in the first innings, I personally think 180 to 200 was a par score. And England's batting was a little bit unacceptable, especially from being 67 for 2.
50 for 3 they weren't they?
No, that was today. I'm talking about the first innings. There was 67 for 2.
Yeah, 67 for 2. And Zach Crawley batted really, really well. Yeah. And then really they collapsed. I thought they should have got 180. I mean, bottom line is, Bobo, I don't think both batting teams did justice. You know, it wasn't as that. It was a spinning wicket, but I think both of the batting teams could have done a lot better.
Yeah, as you say, Batty, yeah, they could have done better. And I think it's I personally think it's like a modern day trend now where if it's swinging, if it's seaming, if it's spinning, or if there's a little bit of pace, batsmen around the world, probably maybe I say barring New Zealand, they kind of, you know, they can't cope with it. They got like a mental barrier and they got an excuse ready. And going back 15, 20 years ago, even with better spinners on show, I think this match would have gone to at least 4 days. So I think it's a technical thing, probably with a lot of white ball cricket, limited overs cricket, that if it's not going your way, you want to just hit out before you get out.
The media narrative has been sort of, is it bad batting? Is it good bowling? Or is it a bad pitch? Yeah. Now, what I personally think is a mixture of everything. I think there's been bad batting from both teams in the first, both bad batting throughout the test from both teams. I think there's been some, apart from a few
accurate spin bowling,
accurate spin bowling, because it's not just the case where you just bowl it and it'll get the wickets. You have to put it in the right areas, yeah. And I think the pitch, obviously, you expect Indian wickets to spin, yeah. But this one's, and a lot of them do tend to spin first, second day. But this one, I thought this one may hold up a little bit more. With it being a day-night test match, with the way England's set up, you know, we'll come on to that a little bit later on in terms of their team selection. But obviously, India read their conditions well, yeah, and they weren't relying on the evening session and select their team based on that with the seam options, yeah. And I feel that India had their bases covered, but I feel that it was a mixture of all three, because a lot of people are saying it's just a bad wicket, it's a bad wicket, and you're just poor for Test cricket, 2 days. You know, some will say it's really intriguing, brilliant, fascinating Test matches. And some will say, well, how can you be over? You know, what about them people that bought day 3, day 4, day 5 tickets? You know, how can you have a Test match? You know,
You're right. I think the key question is, and we're all looking for it, especially when the wickets are too flat, we're looking for a balance between bat and ball. I think generally in the last 2 years, the balance has come back to the ball a little bit. But I think some people would say that potentially this game was too much in favor of the bowlers and it became a bit of a lottery for the batsmen. And even to get 20, 30 runs, you needed to have a lot of luck. So there is that point, and in some probably way, I would agree with you with that view. But as I said,
if that's the case, then I'll go back to the last second Test match. It was a very similar wicket, Bobo, yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but England bowled first on it, and they didn't bowl that well. And Sharma, although he batted class, but he should never have got that many runs on that wicket. And I feel that what England spinners couldn't do in that second match in the first innings, India's spinners showed England how to bowl on a day one pitch.
Yeah, that's right. So the big thing is on these type of surfaces is you don't need to have doosras, you don't need to have carom balls, or you don't need to even spin in square. You need to be accurate and bowl stump to stump. And now, and the thing is, that's why Dom Bess, in my point of view, has not played in this game, because Joe Root, after the first test, does not trust him. Trust his accuracy. He thinks he gives away too many runs. He hasn't got any control. And when he got pitches like this,
okay, looking back in hindsight, so do you think, looking back now in hindsight, Bobo, yeah, that was actually a good move from England? Because if you look at the team selection, Bobo, I spoke to a lot of England fans, and what they were saying to me was the fact that England, it's a day-night test match. They're going to use Anderson as and their seam attacks. They're going to use that sort of trump card under the lights. It's going to seam and swing everywhere. And whereas India went in with a different selection of 3 spinners and 2 seamers. So do you think, looking back in hindsight, England got that wrong and could have gone in with 2?
No, in that way, I think it's going to sound like a stupid thing that I'm saying, but I think they've got away with it, because end of the day, when you bowl pretty much once and you bowl India out for 145, it's hard to have the argument of saying, okay, the bowlers should have done better. Now, what more are the bowlers going to do? Bowl them off 50, 60? It's not going to happen, is it? So they did get it wrong. It's not even hindsight. It was clear to me, looking at the conditions, and you're going to have 50 overs of each day in the daylight anyway, where you probably use the spinners, and you need 2 for that. Then you can use your seamers in the evening session anyway for those 20-25 overs. So they got away with it in terms of it didn't cost them this game. But looking forwards, I don't know what this is going to do for Dom Bess's confidence, because they're going to need him in the next game. They haven't got a second spinner on tour, so it has to be him. You drop the guy after he's bowled not great but okay. You bring Moeen in for 1 test, knowing he's not going to play the 3rd test or the rest of the series. Then you leave him out on a turner like this. Now, how is he going to be feeling going into the 4th test? Imagine India win the toss back first. You give Dom Bess the ball in the first session. Now, he's not got the best of control. And you know what I personally think? I don't think he's a test match quality bowler, but that's a different argument. Once they've took him on tour, they've got to use him. Now, how is he mentally going to cope with this, especially being in a bubble? Put yourself in this position, Battery.
To be honest with you, but you know, I think the whole squad at this moment in time, they were on a high. They won 6 test matches away from home in a row. Yeah. And they went, and then what's happened is they've come to this one, obviously being the first test in India. They won that. Yeah. They were on a high. Then they've gone into the 2nd test match, you know, and they've lost that one. And then this one still 1-1. The series was in the balance, Bobo. I mean, the fact that if you look at this test match, after day 1, we thought England finished, you know, no chance, it's completely gone. The fact that Root brought them back into the game, they were only trailing by 30, Bobo.
Yeah.
Level pegging, it was hard. Once they got to level pegging, the fact is they had that chance and they didn't seize it. It's them moments. They had the window. I mean, the fact that, what did they give India? 49 to chase, 40 plus, just under 50. Yeah. If you add another 50, 60 on Bobo to that, I mean, 110, 120 is a different complexion. There's a bit more pressure on the batting team. You know, here, Sharma and Gill just batted freely, knowing
they abandoned, as I say. There's no fear. Even if they get out, it's fine. It's 49s. But as I say, but even when England were 50 for 3 and Root and Stokes were batting, it's hard, obviously, we're watching the game, but did you feel like, looking at England's mentality, that they felt like they've got a chance of winning this game? To me, it always looked like that they felt like the world was against them and they weren't ready to grasp those opportunities when they came along.
To be honest with you, in that sense, Bobo, you know, sort of, it's a good segue into what we're going to talk about next is about umpiring and the mindset. The thing is, you know, just briefly talking about the batting sort of technique on this wicket, Bobo, in terms of when it's turning square, you know, you got off spinner, left arm spinner. There's not many shot selections here. You know, Bobo, you can sweep, but it's a high risk. You start to sweep a couple of times.
The pace of the bowler is too risky.
They'll put a fielder there. They'll block that avenue off. What else are you going to do? You charge. You might get there. You might smother the spin. One might just turn past you because it was turning and straight. The fact that they were stuck on their crease, you know, then the umpires in itself, which I was going to ask you about, you know, a lot's been asked about the umpiring, Bobo, in this test match, in terms of on-field calls, on-field umpiring, and the third umpiring, I mean, what do you think, first of all? And I'll tell you, I personally think, Bobo, that that the on-field umpiring for what's gone on and the pace the game has and the wicket itself, I think the on-field umpires have pretty much got everything spot on.
Yeah,
Pretty much. You're going to get the odd thing wrong, the umpire calls, the ones that are bouncing over. But the main issue I have, I think, with the third umpiring, they've actually got the decisions right. I feel they've got the decisions right, but I feel that they're taking their time on some and they're not taking the time on others, and they're rushing through, Bobo, yeah? And I feel England were hard done by in Rahane's when he was out last Test match.
Yeah, off the
and
glove,
as well, a few catches where Stokes catch, and then you had the other one where I think Rahane caught, was it Leach's yesterday, where it was it Leach's wicket where Rahane caught it slip, and then you've got even the Sharma stumping as well. Yeah,
both tests. Yeah, Sharma's. Yeah, going back onto your question about umpiring, obviously I do a little bit of umpiring myself. Obviously not at that level where there's so much scrutiny, but I think the umpires have been brilliant on field. They've got things wrong, but that happens. But there's not been one decision in the games on field where I've thought, okay, that's a shocker. Like, when this happened, I've not thought, okay, that's a terrible decision. There's been a few umpires calls, and there's been a few that have been overturned. But I think you can tell with the way the players have treated the umpires that they know they're doing a good job. The only time the players have got riled with the on-field umpires is when the decisions have come back from the third umpire. And for me, there's excuses to get it wrong on field, but for the third umpire to get decisions wrong or not to follow the correct process is unacceptable, especially at such a high-profile series. I understand that the third umpire every time has not been an elite panel, but the Javigal Srinath, who's a very experienced match referee, they go through the full training. So I just do not understand how you cannot follow the correct process in making decisions. Now,
I think, as I said before, they've got the decisions right, Bobo. I think they've got there in the end.
There's been a few that have been 50-50, but I don't think anyone's arguing about, apart from the Rahane one, the potential Sharma something.
I've done a few blunders a couple of weeks ago, and I pointed them out to you. Those umpires where the guy's foot's down and he's giving him out. Yeah, so they're big blunders. I think there's not been many big blunders, but I feel like you said they've got there. But like I said, they're using more angles on some, and they're going through the correct.
As you say, yeah,
and then some they're not. And the most obvious one is the Rahane one, where if they rolled it on for a few more frames, it was clear that he hit his glove. But then what they did was they stopped it at the first point, called it, and they're rushing the decision.
That's right.
I think, in fairness to Root, I think what he's saying is look, carry on, use the full angles, is what his frustration.
Right, and as I said, Battery, it's in sport, especially for officials, they're setting the tone early in the series. Now, what's happened in the second Test match is still falling over into this game in terms of the decisions were right, but because of the mistakes in the second Test match, the England players do not have confidence in the third umpire's ability to do the job. So even though if he's getting them right, that kind of mentality has changed where they have no trust of the third umpire.
As a third umpire, you've got the easiest job on field, like you said, a bit of an excuse. With third umpiring, you've got all the technology available. You can't get it wrong. I can't understand how they are.
It's unacceptable, and that's why the uproar has been, because there is no excuse. And I've read in the media and few like quick info that the ICC did discuss potentially replacing the officials, obviously with including third umpire. But logistically, it wasn't possible because of the isolation period, and you couldn't get any other elite umpires or even umpires, other international Indian umpires from other states around India. So they've been stuck with these. And as I said, the sad thing is, in a way, is that a difficult job on field has been done really well, but people are talking about the easy job being, it's like VAR when the official gets it wrong, when they can see it on the TV, it's unacceptable. So I'm sure that the BCCI will work with the ICC and will train the umpires. But the way the results have been going for England, it's just another thing that's that they will feel that's gone against them. It just kind of
quickly moving on to the man of the moment, Mr. Axar Patel. How do you think he did on debut?
No, as I said, the biggest surprise for me has been not the fact that he's got wickets or he's turned the ball, and it's his control. I mean, I don't think he's played a lot of first-class cricket. Obviously, this is only his second Test match. He's played a lot of T20 cricket, and for him to have that control for such long periods of time in the heat, I've been really impressed. And the pressure, no doubt, the pressure was on going into this innings. They only had a lead of 33. One bad spell of bowling where you concede 25, 30 runs or 4 or 5 overs and don't take a wicket, that could potentially change the game. And in this second innings, he led the way. Even the Ashwin, okay, would say he had a more difficult job bowling to right-handers, but Akshar Patel set the tone in this innings, and then Ashwin followed after that. So I think that just says it in how it is that Patel was more difficult than Ashwin.
It looks like he's played 30, 40 tests. He's only played 2 tests. The guy
absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. And as the Indian and Kohli said as well, that even in the nets, he's the type of guy that they just find it's very hard to score off. So if someone like Kohli is saying, you just know how difficult it is. And
perfect replacement for Jaddu, isn't it?
Perfect. No, Jaddu's one of those, like, I would, if he was bowling on this pitch, I know it sounds ridiculous what I'm going to say, but I literally think that England might have been bowled out for 50, 60, 70 in both games.
The rock star, isn't it? The rock star.
Shane Warne says. And Jadeja, don't take lightly his batting as well. I think if he was playing in the first test match, England might have got 100 less with the bat, and India might have got 50 more.
Imagine India drop, replace Jaddu with Washington, Sundar, yeah? And imagine Jaddu, Akshar, and Ashwin in a lineup.
As I said, if they come, then Ishant and Bumrah are going to be claiming a free match fee because they're not going to be doing anything. They might be having a bat, but they're certainly not going to be bowling. So, but go on. You're going to say?
Imagine those three though.
It'd be
Where would you score from? Who would you score off?
Maybe just rely on a few no balls from the umpires. Maybe
no balls, a few extras, yeah.
Few extras, but as I said, that just shows you that India's obviously they should be good at bowling spin, but it shows you that the bench strength they've got, especially after the Australian series where they had like a C team, people hadn't even heard of some of these players. They've gone back to India, and the pressure is on the seniors now because they're like, these youngsters have done well against Australia in difficult conditions. They've lost the first test at home again, and the pressure was on Kohli and these senior players. And then
talking of pressure on Kohli, Baba, someone who you admire and I admire quite a lot is
batsman only, by the way. I don't admire him as a captain.
No. We're about captaincy here. You're a former captain as well, yeah? MS Dhoni. Kohli broke his record today. What do you think to that?
Yeah,
21. Most successful Indian captain at home. Most successful Indian captain at home.
Yeah, and Kohli's biggest strength is not tactically. Tactically, I think sometimes he's inept. But his biggest strength is in motivating his players, leading from the front with the bat, and he's very aggressive. He's in the opposition face. He gets a crowd going. He actually riles the opposition. The opposition get annoyed by him, and that's what he likes. And he creates that theatre for the opposing batsmen. They got men around the bat, spinners on. He's having a go. The crowd are getting riled up, and you just feel like you're a rabbit in the headlights. So you got to give him credit. Whatever you say about, as I said, his captaincy, he's only lost 2 test matches out of 30. They won a lot of series. They got to number 1. And we're going to come on to Ashwin in the second half.
One was to England. Who was the other one to? Who was the first?
Australia. They lost one of the first tests to Australia as well in the series.
Yes.
And they came back and won that one as well. So I think it's happening here again. So
I'm talking to the final man of the moment, Bobo, Mr. Ashwin.
Oh, Ashwin, yeah.
Bobo, I mean, second fastest to 400 after Murli.
Yeah.
Fourth highest wicket taker for India, behind obviously Harbhajan. He's only about 50. He's on 401. Harbhajan's on 416. Then you've got Kapil Dev just slightly above Harbhajan, and then you've got obviously Kumble 600.
Yeah.
Fourth. I mean, the guy's played. I mean, I looked at his figures, Bobo, in test matches and statistics.
They're ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous figures.
7 matches, Bobo. He's got an average under 25, just under 25, 401 wickets, Bobo. I mean, a lot of people have said, Ashwin, flat track bully, only good in India. What have you? Because, mate, you got to stand up and applaud the guy because them figures, them statistics, forget his batting. I mean,
I think it's disrespectful. It's one of those easy. People like to use cliches. Oh, Ashwin's got his wickets. They've all happened at home. So don't give him credit. And as England spinners have proved as well in the last few series, that the pressure is on. You have to be really accurate, and if you don't perform day in day out, and it costs the team. And Ashwin has won a lot of games for India in crunch situations, and we just talked about Kohli's record, and him and Jadeja are the 2 key cogs that have probably helped him to win at least more than half of those games. And the guy's always improving. I don't know if you saw his interview today, that he's always looking to get better. and
You think he's going to be here for about another 3-4 years, Bobo?
He could, and he could probably get to 700 then. But I'm just talking about originally when I saw him, I just thought he was like a T20 spinner, that a bit like a Janta Mendes, like where people work him out. He hasn't got his stock delivery is not good enough to kind of stay in the test team, but he's got better. He's got better.
He's improved. He's improved. You know, subtle variation. I was analyzing him.
Yeah,
he's got
release points and all that. Yeah,
massively. He's got the carom ball, and then he's got the sort of the one that lands on the belly that just goes on.
Yeah, through. Yeah, he's got
and just subtle variation. And mate, the guy has been. You know,
immense. He's been immense, and he has. And it's not all been in India. He has done job all over the world. He's done a holding job. He's got wickets, and he was exceptional in Australia. When Jadeja got injured or wasn't playing, then he was a lead spinner in flat conditions. 4 spinners. He did the job when Nathan Lyon bowling at home was pretty much negated. So he's done it, and he's contributed with the bat, as he's seen in the last Test match as well. And he's going to go down as. I'm not going to say the best Indian spinner because I don't think he is, but he's going to be one of the best modern day, probably spinners that India have produced. And full credit to him. I mean, to how long he's going, to his performance, and he's getting better. I can't take away from him. So full credit.
Wrapping up then, Bobo. I mean,
before we look forwards now, we've got to look forward to what's to come for England in the next Test match.
How do you see it? I mean, what?
Now, how do you? As I say. In my mind, I'm still trying to work out.
Is there any positives? Is there any positives for England to take out of this game?
The only 2 positives for me are Zach Crawley's batting. He showed aggressive intent in the first innings, but the thing is, he didn't have baggage from the first few Test matches in India. Now he has got the baggage with 2 dismissals. In pretty much 2 balls now. He's been dismissed twice by left-on spinner. So his batting was exceptional. Proven on this surface, only him and Sharma got a 50. And I think Jack Leach bowled really good control and is getting better. From what I saw in Sri Lanka, where he bowled a lot of loose deliveries, and even how we started off in this series with Rishabh Pant, as some said, punting him in the first Test match. He's improved and his control's been really good. Joe Root can rely on him. He's took wickets. So they are the 2 big positives. Apart from that,
one more to add to that, actually.
Yeah.
And I think that's Folkes is keeping.
Oh yeah, but Folkes is one of those. Folkes is outstanding keeper. We knew anyway.
Look, some say in England it's seeming, and Folkes is obviously kept here. He's got the experience. He's he kept in Sri Lanka on the previous tour, but didn't
and he? Was brilliant there. He got man of the series.
Yeah. And it's the first time he's actually kept in India, Bobo. Yeah. On a spinning deck, and he kept really well. His good footwork, didn't miss anything from what I can remember.
Yeah, and as I said, it's exceptional. The biggest compliment you can pay him in this game is that you didn't realize he was there. You didn't talk about him, and that's a good sign of a wicketkeeper where you don't have to.
Some things which were very close as well, which on any other given day, if I'm just saying, but some very good neat glove work. I thought that's a bonus. But in terms of,
you're right. I think he's it might be a big statement within many played minimal Test matches, but I think he's one of the best wicket keeper only. I'm talking about, not a batsman. One of the best wicket keepers in the world, just for that ability wise.
I mean, I'd argue with that and say Mohammad Rizwan's up there now in terms of just keeping, and Butler has actually improved his keeping as well. In the first 2 Test matches, just forget the game. Butler's just keeping, I thought was really good.
Oh yeah, Butler's improved from where he was in the summer against
where he was to where he is now. Butler's improved massively.
Massively. Well, yeah. But as I said, Folkes has took his opportunity and he's going to be in the hat for the summer now as well for selection.
So closing up,
what do you think then? We got to talk about, first of all, do you think, be honest, have England got a chance in this next Test match? Any chance?
No, is the simple answer. No. I mean,
the
only thing I can see, Bobo, they've got nothing to play for in the sense that Test Championship's gone now. 2-2 or winning the next one, bit of pride, but I just can't see it. I think I just cannot see it. I think this one has knocked the stuffings out of them, Bobo. I mean, the fact that they finished it in 2 days, they're going to think of it for 3 days, thinking we could have still been out there. And let's be honest, I mean, it's a record since 1935 says it all, Bobo. You got played off the park in all format, in all areas, and I didn't think Root was expected to be beaten in 2 days. especially
No one.
after
Well,
winning the
apart
toss.
from me, Battery.
Well, I actually thought I thought 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but after the first session on day one, I thought this is not happening here. This is going to be over by tomorrow.
So you called it. So you know what? Fair play to you.
Yeah.
So we'll end it there, Bobo. And
Yeah.
like I said, it'll be interesting to see the 4th test. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, just to guide. So I know we're just starting off the channel, as I said. If you got any criticism, feedback, you don't have to agree with us, but any comments are welcome. We're just starting off. We will look to get better. So, but we are just two guys, as I said, that love our cricket. We're always talking about it, and we always say what we honestly think. We're not worried about what reception we're going to get, or if we're kind of compliant with the general consensus out there. We will just say what we think, and I hope you guys enjoy that rather than.
And what we're going to do in terms of some more sort of content, we are looking to cover all cricket series. You know, we've got the PSL going on, the IPL coming up. And we want to sort of, you know, give as much content out to you guys as as possible. Please like and subscribe, yeah, and do the usual stuff. And hope to see you soon, guys. Yeah, like I said, the show is called Straight Talk. Bobo and Battery Straight Talk, and that's what we like to do, and that's what we want to do. Yeah. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Battery, as well.
No problem, Bobo.